She is, I would say, a rare mix of strategic clarity. Please join me in welcoming Kamalika Nandi. And currently, she is serving as Director Corporate Strategy at Syneos Health. So, from building consulting teams to shifting global operating models.
From that skill based model to I completely changed to what it is all about connections. It is all about working together. And culture is not the mission vision statement. Culture is not what you put on posters on the office walls. Did you work on the right project?
This title reminds me of a childhood story of most of the times when you are starting your career journey. You are totally clueless in what kind of opportunity you're landed to.
When does tough become toxic? When does hard work become a burnout? What if I speak and I am not very confident? So that's why they just keep their words to themselves.
And I'm very intrigued by the fact that networking is always meant for professionals to get something from.
Communication is not about spoken English. We think, again, as you mentioned, we think it's about how you speak your English, your grammar, your choice of words, your confidence.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Candid Conversations with Industry Experts, and I am your moderator, Mihir Pujara. With BRiK Academy's podcast series, we are going beyond buzzwords and titles and meeting leaders who are redefining the pharma and healthcare landscape. Today, the expert, the leader we have with us, she is, I would say, a rare mix of strategic clarity and soulful leadership. Please join me in welcoming Kamalika Nandi. Kamalika has spent 15 years in trenches of life sciences consulting, starting with Kynaps, followed by Accenture, and currently she is serving as Director Corporate Strategy at Syneos Health. So from building consulting teams to shifting global operating models, Kamalika has not just delivered an impact, but she has redefined how impact is delivered. And I'm very glad to say from this platform that she has poured all this wisdom into a book, which I firmly believe that every young professional should have in their backpacks. The title of the book is Build Your Career Your Way, and I think it's no fluff, brutally honest realities of how to navigate your corporate life with much more clarity and much more courage. I have gone through the book, and I would personally believe that with this book, Kamalika is not here to say the truth or say it softer, but she is here to challenge the status quo and being very truthful about what she is trying to convey in order to help the next generation professionals walk those office corridors with much more clarity, much more confidence, and keeping their eyes wide open. So, with that, what we're going to do today is I would insist all the listeners to take out your notebook and pen, because this is going to be that kind of candid conversation which you would like to pause, reflect, rewind, and re listen. So, with that, let me welcome Kamalika Nandi to BRiK Academy. And thank you so much for your time. And it's an honor to have you with us today.
Thanks, Mihir. Thanks, BRiK Academy. Thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. So, listeners, we are going to divide this entire podcast into three segments. So, in the first segments, we're gonna set the context and know a bit more about Kamalika. In the second section, we're gonna deep dive further into the book and all the individual chapters, but we're gonna do it like a movie review without revealing the climax, just touching upon the stories and the characters. And in the segment three, which is more famous and it's you all are aware, it's a rapid fire round to understand what goes behind the curtain in making a professional like Kamalika Nandi really thrive and succeed in today's world, right? So these three segments, let's start with first one. So many of you might be aware that I also started my journey with Kynaps, and I was fortunate enough to be mentored by Kamalika during those pivotal and initial days of my career. So let's start with that. I think you got a chance to build consulting team in smaller setup like Kynaps and now in a bigger engine like Syneos. how you look back upon this journey, and if you could share some of the defining moments that you always cherished in this amazing journey you have had.
Thanks, Meet. Being a consultant for 15 years, and then you're asked to set up a team that's consulting for a client, and you suddenly start consulting for your own organization, for your own self. So my first learning was how consulting is actually a continuous process. How I would make an operating model for my own team, that okay, this is what we're going to do from India, from UK, from US, and then after 6 months I would go back and revisit my model again, and then again and again. So this gave me a very broader perspective of consulting, on how it is supposed to be continuous and is not a one-off. And that pretty much changed my course towards corporate strategy, where I wanted to be ingrained in the organization, in the system, to continuously consult for the organization. And the second thing I would say about the journey was it totally changed my perspective of talent. So, how do you build a team? You're given a job description, you look at the skills, you go to the market, you know your target companies, and you poach. Right. From that skill based model to I completely changed to what is this person made of. I would no longer care if this person has done any systematic reviews and passed or not. What I would look at is how resilient this person is. What in the CV or the background tells me about the resilience of this person. Even if the systematic review is sent back 24 times, he will get up again next day morning, and he would do it, and he would do a good job. He would try his best and not put a sick leave the next day because he's had enough of it. Um, so this journey has been also about knowing myself. What are my interests, aspirations? Where do I want to go? So yes, this is how I'll summate that this entire journey has taught me deeply about consulting. What exactly is it? What do we do about it? What do we do for our clients in the real true sense? And then it has taught me a lot about talent. It's not as simple as matching skill sets. It's about knowing the metal that this individual is made of.
True, true. And thanks for that answer, because that's what I told in my introduction, that you're not just delivered impact, but you have redefined how impact is delivered with much more empathy, with much more authenticity, and a sheer commitment of developing others. And I think writing a book is a very natural extension of the values and the ethos that I also got a chance to learn from you during my early days. So let's jump to that. I think the title, I was very intrigued by the title of the book, and I would like to know what prompted you to write this book, and who actually you kept in mind while you were writing this book.
Yeah. So it was during my tenure when I was asked to build the consulting team from scratch. I would hire from universities. I always go for the top universities I trust. They would onboard, and within a few months, I would see the spark disappear. They were very bright. They're the brightest. They cracked interviews. They smashed onboarding, but after a few months, they would be uncertain. They would ask questions, and the questions would just keep repeating. They would be the same questions. Should I keep quiet? Should I speak up? Is this person trying to control me, or is toxic? Obviously, they could not speak that up, but I could sense that they are struggling with the dilemma. How do I fit into the organization? They have been asked to be visible. They would come to me and say, what is visibility, Kamalika? They were asked to make network. What is networking? What does it even mean? Right. So I think we do a very good job of covering compliances, legal aspects while onboarding. In an organization, you go through a lot of trainings, but have you ever seen what the trainings are doing? Who are they protecting? Who are they preparing? They are protecting the organization. They are protecting in terms of policies, in terms of legal things. Then the next set of onboarding is your technical skills. Again, for the organization, so that the individual does the job in one take. There are less mistakes, there are less errors, saving organization productivity. But what does this person actually need who's coming from university and has already always been a individual contributor? In universities we are all individually working. From that, you have put that person in a setting where it is all about people, it is all about connections, it is all about working together, with zero onboarding on that aspect. Have you taught them how to understand the culture? And culture is not the mission vision statement. Culture is not what you put on posters on the office walls. Culture is actually, the core culture is never discussed. It is an unsaid rule by which everybody performs, but nobody discusses it. So it could be an office with multiple bean bags, pretty decor, but it could be a very orthodox organization where only one or two people take all decisions. It is so contradictory, but we do not teach them that, how to read the organization culture, how to know how to fit in. How do I fit in into that organization? I'm an individual, I have different priorities, different habits. Again, handling managers, how do I know this person is breathing down my neck, but is this person actually trying to control the deliverable? Is he trying to control me, or is he trying to control my promotion? Right. So there are multiple aspects, and that's how the book is designed. Each chapter I focus on one aspect that I think new hires should know about, and that all this observation made me write this book. There's somebody who has to say there's a big gap in the this aspect, and nobody explains it. The HR handbook does not, onboarding does not, your buddy who is deep into the system would never dare share all this. So who would? So I decided to lift the pen.
No, thanks for that explanation. Guys, let's deep dive into book because I guess it would be good to peel off this complicated topic layer by layer. So there are 6 chapters in the book, and again, as I said, right, it's gonna be a brief crux without revealing the climax, so that you purchase the book and you read the full book to understand all the nitty-gritties and some of the frameworks which are also an integral part of the book that will help you to assess your situation and also come out of it. So let's start with the first chapter. So the first chapter, the name is very interesting, and it is talking about the industry academia gap, right? Which is the mostly debated topic so far. So Kamalika, what's your view in terms of the contrast versus academic success, and that not leads to a corporate success, obviously, but more struggle. So how you are looking from the lens, from your lens?
Yeah, again, I go back to those days when I was setting up this team. Academics is very individual driven. I'm giving an assignment, I go to my class, I study, I'm given an assignment, I complete the assignment. That assignment would be reviewed and I would be given a grade. It does not have much to do with people around me, right? But when you are dropped into a corporate, you are creating solutions. You're creating solutions in a group with people, right? It is a lot about your relationship with that people, that group of people that will make you successful. So that's, I think, the major thing that we struggle with. We still feel that I go to the corporate, I listen to the meeting, and create a perfect slide, as per I think is perfect, and I would be successful. And I would get that visibility and I'll get my promotion. It doesn't work that way. In corporate, there are thousands of people working towards one goal, and you have to think differently, a very people oriented, solution oriented way, which nobody prepares you for. Then the second major difference I found was academic is very result oriented, result in the terms of grades, right? So, or hard work oriented. I think that's the best word. So you're expected to work very hard. The more hard you work, the more better you understand the concepts, the better you're able to recreate it in the answer sheets. In corporate, it nobody cares how hard you work. Whether you create the output in 2 hours or 12 hours, it does not matter. What matters is the overall success, the result. Whatever you were asked to do, were you able to get the result? Whether you do it in 2 hours, 22 hours is not of any concern. So again, people come with the same mindset, oh, I'm going to work very hard. Interview anybody from university and they are going to say, I am looking forward to working very hard. Nobody would tell you, I am there, I am going to join this organization to get you the results that you want. It's an entirely different mindset that people enter the corporate with, and they do not know that. And that pivot in mindset takes, anyways, 5 years. So that's a major gap that I would say is between academic and is between corporate. And then we stress. I worked so hard. Why was I not promoted? Did you work on the right project? Did you work with the right people? Did you collaborate enough? Did you support them when they required your support? Right? So that's often you hear, right? That I worked so hard. I worked for 14 hours, 16 hours every day for 7 months, 10 months, and I was not considered. So I try in this chapter to make you realize that you have to get rid of that mindset and switch more towards a people mindset, switch more towards a result oriented mindset.
Indeed. And thanks for that elaborative answer. I think with all those questions you raised, you reminded me of my performance reviews and all the discussions started flashing up. So on a lighter note, but
We've
yeah.
all done. We've all done.
Thanks for highlighting it. Now let's move to the next one, which is chapter 2. This title reminds me of a childhood story of an ugly duckling, a duckling which is misplaced, misunderstood, until it realizes that it's not actually a duck, it's a swan.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
duck flew away. So
Yeah.
at every juncture, right, of my career, I think this happens with every individual. We have tried so hard to fit in, from choosing science versus maths, from choosing pharmacy, right, versus medical, and the journey
Totally.
continues thereafter. Would like to
Totally.
also take your view on what are the aspects you try the audience to be mindful about when you are putting this thought, or what have you written in this chapter, so that the audience can get a feel if they are trying to fit in or they are really made for where they are working.
Yeah. So as the ugly duckling was a very good example. So imagine a stage, people are dancing, and you're put on the stage. What's your immediate instinct? To copy their moves, right? And that's how we behave in an organization. You're put on a stage where everybody is dancing a dance they know, and you want to be accepted. You want to be liked. So you repeat the same moves. You copy the same moves. But maybe your moves are different. Maybe they are doing a Bharatanatyam and maybe you are a hip hop person, right? So my authenticity, my individuality is lost. And it takes a very long time until when you actually realize that I was never made for this. I just kept copying what was in front of me just so that I am liked, just so that I am accepted. So this chapter helps you realize who you are. First thing towards authenticity and fitting in is to understand who you are. There are various metrics, there are various ways in this chapter where you would understand what are my motivations? What do I get motivated with? What do I like? And then it takes you step by step into finding that organization. Because an organization, is they always try to be shiny, right? Through their pay packages, through their awards, through their exterior snazzy cafeterias. They're all trying to be snazzy and they're all trying to attract you. But you should be able to peel the layers, see what exactly lies in the core to be able to see, okay, this is the reality of this organization. Then see, does it match to what I need? And then find the right place for yourself. So this chapter takes you through how do you find the right place for yourself. Know yourself and then know the organization and then match it.
So it's a companion, not a counselor.
It is a companion. The book is meant to be a companion. It is not meant to teach you. It is what you sometimes need. You sometimes need a friend to talk to. It'll be a sit right next to you and talk to you. Sometimes it'll just give you a hug. Sorry, this is tough, and it is how it is. Sometimes it'll guide you that you know what this is what you should do in such a situation. So that's how I've tried to put it, and not a preaching tone.
Okay, now let's go to the third thing, which we all try every day to master, but fail miserably and still continuing on that journey. And it's about communication. So I think there are a lot of myths also associated with communication, that communication is just about speaking English, right? And nothing beyond it. So people who are fluent with English, people always perceive them as nice communicators, and vice versa. And we all come from those backgrounds where English was not the
Totally.
primary language.
Totally.
So why do you mention it as a struggle rather than a skill?
Exactly for the reason you mentioned here, you know. Um, I say I am still struggling with communication because communication is not about spoken English. We think, again, as you mentioned, we think it's about how you speak your English, your grammar, your choice of words, your confidence. Um, Especially in today's world where you have AI, to just write the entire script for you. They can write an entire email for you. Verbal gymnastics is meaningless. They would do that for you. Communication is giving up a bit of yourself. So now I'm speaking to you. You are making an impression of me. You are thinking, okay, Kamalika is confident. Okay, Kamalika is aggressive. Okay, Kamalika, lacks confidence. Kamalika is not that knowledgeable. Kamalika is knowledgeable. So it is that giving away of yourself that makes new hires very skeptical and not want to talk much because they do not know if I am giving the right impression or not. They're very conscious of their impression in the first few years, right? What if I speak and they realize that I do not know much about this topic? What if I speak and I am not very confident? So that's why they just keep their words to themselves. So that's why I have said communication is not a skill, communication is a struggle. And how do we overcome that? Right? How do we overcome that hindrance is what this book about. And also, communication is about understanding other people. If you are saying something and I go in a different direction, or we do not connect, that's not good communication, even if I am using the most fancy English. So that's what this chapter is about. How do we connect with people, which is the essence of communication? And how do I control my own confidence, my own self image, so that I can speak up confidently while talking? So that are the elements that this chapter touches on.
Great. Thanks for highlighting it. Moving on to the fourth one, which is more than just LinkedIn connections.
You're walking down the road, you want somebody to bow to you. Bow to you means, in a sense, do something for you, right? There are many ways. You ask this person, bow to me. They would say, what? No, I would not. Then you can request them, please do. They would think you're crazy. You could threaten them. So that's a way of working. That's a way of getting what you want from people. My principle is just go and bow to them yourself, and they would immediately reciprocate. They would bow to you. So this is how I have led my career. I always see what do people expect out of me. I network to give, and then I get in return. That's the late. That's probably some nature of law. That once you give people, you would also always get it back. So again, I'm not against making connections at conferences, at alumni meets. I think that's important. But who are your real connections is what this chapter explores. Versus who are probably the fast food of connections. So that's the differentiation that I make in this chapter.
Let's move to the fifth, one before the last, and that is identifying toxic patterns. I think it's a great chapter to unveil. So we already talk about that you have a companion in this chapter to identify and evaluate whether you are at the right place or whether this is not meant for you. But then the next step is what to do after that, after realizing it. So Kamlika, if you can maybe help throw the light on, now I have discovered that I am on the plus side or the minus side, but what next? What should I do after it?
Yeah, and this is um, again a big gap I feel organizations should cover. Um, we do not stress enough on. So there are many mental health trainings, right? Prioritize your mental health, this and that. But how do I know if I'm burning out? Right? It could be just my hard work. Um, how to differentiate between a burnout versus it's just pushing you towards excellence. Um, Similarly, how do I know when I have to sit and I have to keep pushing in the organization versus it's time to quit? Nothing ever is going to change with this organization or the team that I am in. And this is the time for me to just pack my bags and run. These are some aspects that this book works on. Um, First step is realizing that I have realized that I am on the wrong side, I'm in the wrong organization. Do I push or do I stay put? Is there a chance this organization or this team would ever change? How do you know that? We keep pushing, right? It's like a marathon where the end point is always moving, right? We keep thinking, okay, let me try another year. Agle saal to I'll definitely get a promotion, right? So that's what we keep thinking. So how do you realize that no, this will never end, and you have to just, while your dignity is still intact, leave this organization. These are some elements that we this book tries to discuss. And then what do you do? Is the next step towards it. So that's how I will answer this question. That first is realizing, is it worth staying or leaving? And then what do you do next?
Understood. Now let's come to the final chapter, which is the road to success and redefining the finish line. So yeah, I would like to understand what you are trying to cover in this chapter and what success means to you.
My definition of success has changed. And I think it's the same for everyone, who takes the path. Initially, I was okay. I've been in this position for 1 year, 2 years. It's time for a promotion. Promotion is your success definition. Your salary increment is a success definition. You see, fancy titles, big brand names. That's your definition of. And we all fall into this, and we continue in this chase for years. We are comparing ourselves to our peers, or we are comparing ourselves to our colleagues, and this goes on and on. But with time, you realize that success is as much internal as it is external. And these metrics are simply the external metric that your society measures you with. These are not your internal success metrics. You could be working on in a very reputed brand name, and you could be working as a senior director, but you could have a miserable life. You could feel a total failure. So these success metrics are incomplete. I would not say they're not important. They're very important. They drive you. They drive you and your ego, and ego is a very important factor in our success. But they are incomplete. You have to look at the other part, and that's what this chapter focuses on. What are the other success parameters that you should measure along with these that would give you the idea of your growth and are more sustainable and are long term goals rather than these? So, yes, like everybody else, I have followed the same path, and took quite a lot of time to realize that there's another set of success factors that doesn't show, but is probably more important.
Truly helpful, truly helpful. Listeners, I hope you have made the notes. And
Mhm.
I am putting the link of this book in the description of the video. So I would insist everyone to take this nuggets of wisdom, and then explore the full story so that you can do a 360-degree evaluation of where you stand with this book, or even if you are entering the corporate uh, life, then I think it's also serve as a guide of what to do, what not to. And in case if you are not at a right place or in a right situation, you have a companion to refer to and then plan your next steps. With that, I think we are at a verge of the most interesting rapid fire round. So
Yeah.
let's start with the first question. Music. So one chapter in the book that felt most personal to you, or maybe two, or maybe more.
Toxic people.
Okay, very nice. Um, a section you rewrote multiple times because it had to be just right.
Success took me the longest to write.
Indeed, agree. What's the line in the book you secretly love the most?
Take charge of your career, otherwise, somebody else will.
Wow, okay. Now, this is very aspirational, but if your book were turned into a Netflix series, what it what would it be called?
Trenches of corporate? I don't know, haven't thought.
Okay. So that was on a lighter note, but I hope the audience will binge read it rather than
Yeah.
binge watch it. So we are always
Yeah.
the reader club is always fighting with the binge watchers club. Okay, so the next question, a piece of advice you gave in the book that you still struggle to follow.
Communications, reading people.
Okay, interesting. What's one corporate myth you think needs to die or you would like to burn?
I think I'll repeat myself here, but I strongly believe that the corporate myth that a big brand name or a snazzy title means success. That needs to bust.
Okay, I agree to that. One thing you wish every fresher knew on day one.
That there is a book, Build Your Career Your Way, and they have to purchase it and keep it on their desk forever. It's not a one-time novel read. It's a companion for the first 5 years.
Yeah, and sometimes you will reflect on some of the things which are written in the book somewhat later in your career,
Yeah,
and then it will
yeah,
help you to accelerate and move
yeah.
fast. Okay, what's harder, saying no or asking for help?
It depends on who you're saying no to and who you're asking help from.
Very true and very smart. Okay. Now again, a question on a similar note. Most overrated and most underrated corporate skill.
Most overrated is communication because we misunderstand it. More underrated is networking because, again, we misunderstand the meaning of network.
Sure. Okay. Moving on. Your leadership style in maybe few words or few sentences.
Genuine, transparent. You should be able to see through me. There should be no curtain or no mirrors in between.
A personal value you will never compromise on.
Authenticity. I am who I am, and I would never compromise on that.
True. Okay. And one advice that you give to your younger self, you would like to
My
give.
younger self.
Yes.
First, go read my book.
Okay.
Second, don't fuss much. Career, it. So I saw. So this is supposed to be a short answer, but I'll just
Yeah, yeah, sure.
take some context here. There was a picture of two twins in a womb, and they were talking to each other. Do you think there is life after birth? They were asking. So we have a very myopic view of life. We can only see very close. We do not see beyond. So my advice to my younger self would be don't get just disappointed by one client feedback or one missed promotion. Your career is going to be much, much longer and much bigger than that. And this small hiccup today, which is devastating you, you would not even remember it. Um, so keep a long term vision rather than just a short term vision, as you can see right now.
Cool. You already answered my last question about a piece of advice or a piece of
Uh,
message to end the podcast. So I think that's a very well note to end. And unfortunately, all the good things end at one point of time, but it's always a start of new beginning. So with that, I think I really enjoyed the conversation.
Same here.
I'm very sure the all the listeners of this podcast would also enjoy and take out some really meaningful insights that help them in their careers in life.